By the way, Britt, have you got the little setup with the laptop like we saw on socials where you've got a bunch of books behind or something going on there, or is it just sitting up on its own?
No, it's sitting up against a mirror on the top of a tissue box.
Of course it is. That was my third guess. Mirror on top of a tissue box. Hello and welcome to the inaugural edition of Burning Questions, I should say, Queensland edition. And the breaking news is that we've got the brand new hip pocket workwear. Doesn't it look fantastic? By the way, for those who don't know, there's more than 45 stores across Australia. Using national buying power, hip pocket workwear and Safety's locally owned stores have a unique place in the safety workwear. Rickie, don't look at me like that. Safety workwear, corporate clothing and protective equipment market. From the work site to the office, hospitality, healthcare, sports uniforms, corporate wear and embroidery, hip pocket workwear and Safety have you covered. Right, let's get stuck in. Rickie looks like he's been incarcerated for some time. He looks like he's in some sort of prison. And Britt's in the panic room. We'll say hello to you first of all. What Matt Leopard calls the First Lady of Harness Racing, Brittany Graham. How are you?
Good, thanks, guys. Great to be on. And, yeah, good to see Queensland getting a little bit of promotion here, there and everywhere. As you know, I'm a very proud Queenslander, so great to hear that everybody's talking about our great state at the moment.
Yes, I remember a former colleague of mine, Blake Redden, saying that there were no good horses in Queensland, and he was black banned. I think he was blocked on all social platforms at that point. I shaved for you today because I know you hate it when I'm scruffy, and you told me I look like an adult baby.
Yeah, you do, actually. I got a little bit of a shock when I first flicked it on. So, no, but Mum will be very happy. So she'll be tuning in. She'll be impressed as well.
I don't know how you're supposed to win sometimes, guys. Rickie, where are you? You're pinned up against some sort of green brick wall. We're getting a good look at the scone.
Well, I didn't actually realise it was a video chat. I just thought I was on the phone. So I'm down the stables, actually, halfway through feeding up.
Halfway through, well, Zach Phillips couldn't make his edition of Burning Questions. Well, he will get there eventually, but he had to feed up first. So you're a lot more responsible than Zach Phillips anyway. Skeeter, how are you?
Going well, thanks, Bon. Really looking forward to this. It's been a fantastic couple of weeks racing at Queensland and looking forward to getting Britt and Rickie's thoughts.
Your hip pocket workwear fits a lot better than mine. It looks a lot better than mine. I'm like an adult baby with a little paunch with this on for some reason. The first question of the Burning Questions for the inaugural edition for Queensland. You're going to play a big role in this, Rickie. We're not getting a lot of your mouth, but we're getting a lot of nose, eyes and forehead at the moment. Who's going to lead the Sunshine Sprint, first of all, and can King of Swing win from wide on the second row? First of all, crunch time. What's going to happen there?
Yeah, look, I'd like to think he can lead them, Bono. He's never drawn in this close in a feature race like this, and he's right on his game. There's gate speed and then there's gate speed, and this race has got gate speed. It's a very, very fast front line.
It's gate speed and there's gate speed. I like that. Gate speed, and gate speed. This one's got triple gate speed. The big question, though, I think you can get across Bright Energy, but you then have the critical decision of who you're willing to hand up to, if anybody.
Yeah, that's right. Look, he runs his best races in front, this horse running, and I know he's never been in front at a race of this level. I mean, I'd be sort of half content to hold the front and just, have one throw at the dice in a mile race like this and just see if he's willing to do it.
Now, we believe in transparency on this show. Are you saying that, Rickie, or are you meaning it?
No, well, the Spina family, they know one way, and that's go forward, and they don't like to be unlucky. And, they've always wanted to have a crack at a race like this, and that's his racing pattern. I mean, I handed up to King of Swing in it was one of the sprint races, a lead up to the Miracle Mile. And Luke, he went 28 around the bend at Menangle and then home in 25. He was beaten 7 metres, I think, crunch time. But his style of racing is not to go 28 around the bend, is, go 26 or 27 or that third quarter. If you hand up, well, you lose control of that race then, don't you? So,
in a word, Rickie, can King of Swing win from there around Albion Park?
Of course, he's a champion.
Champion? That's a big term, Brittany Graham. Is he a champion? And, well, I think you'll nearly need to be honest. How do you see the speed map going? Who's going to lead the race? We've been told that crunch time is a very good chance of it, but I think you'll have other ideas.
Yeah, it's probably one of the quickest front lines I've seen at Albion Park in a very, very long time. There's so many across that front line that in any other circumstance you would think would just be the winner or the leader, at least to that first turn quite easily. But my probably concern for those drawn down low, the likes of Bright Energy, Crunch Time, and also Ultra Orlando, is the fact that they're all drawn side by side. And we know that it's much harder to cross when you're side by side a horse as opposed to having that little bit of space to work with. And I do think that Turn It Up's going to have that space to work with. He's got Uncle George drawn to his direct inside, which you would assume won't be going forward, and therefore he might just have that little bit of a buffer. So Turn It Up's led the Blacks Opaque last year from 7. He also led earlier this carnival the Lucky Creed as well from 7, and I think it's a bit of an advantage to draw out there as well. And Shane Graham knows the starting point so well that he's just so fast that first 50 Turn It Up. If he gets out within 50, I think that's the way he's going to lead this race. But if that turn comes up, those down low are going to be further advantage. But to be honest, I'm not even really bringing copy that into calculations, which, do so at your own peril, because I also wrote off Amazing Dreams Gate Speed last week.
Something tells me Brittany Graham knows a little bit about Queensland harness racing. I don't know. I've got a vague idea. Skeeter, what did you come up with? Who's going to lead the race? And then I'll come back to both of you and find out whether you think King of Swing can win.
Look, it is so quick and it's going to be so interesting, isn't it? I changed my mind about 3 times going through this last night. I thought, yep, that's the horse that's going to lead. And then I'd move on to the next horse and watch some replays and think, nope, that's the horse. So, look, I settled with Ultra Orlando. I just think he gets out so quick. I think Bright Energy on his back, they'll be running along. But, look, I don't have a whole heap of confidence with that because it is so quick and anything can happen. So I'm going with Ultra Orlando, and absolutely I think King of Swing can win. We know what a brilliant horse he has been for a few years now, and he is going to need a few things to go his way, but I think he can prove that that he is, one of the premier horses on Saturday night.
Rickie's called him a champion, Britt. Is he actually fast enough? That's the issue. Like, we know what a great horse he is, but he leads every time he races around Menangle. Is he actually fast enough, if they don't go that quickly through a second section, to come off the speed with 3 wide cover or 3 wide solo and win?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? And I think I mentioned this last week when it came to the Rising Sun and with Expensive Ego. It's not just the fact that you've drawn off the second row, it's the fact that you also lose any sort of tactical advantage early on because you basically have to deal with what's in front of you. Now, he does follow out Ultra Orlando, who's a really quick beginner. So does Luke sort of try and follow through early there and get himself in a more forward position? I don't know. I had a look at the stats because I'm a nerd, and King of Swing has had 21 starts for the Cobbity team, and he's led on 18 of those occasions. And that just shows the fact that we haven't got enough, knowledge just yet to really definitively say whether or not he can win when he's not in front. I think it's going to be really, really hard for him. I've got them running 51, maybe giving that track record a nudge of 150.4. And if he's 3 wide and working or has to come off the back row, he's going to have to be a champion to win.
Hey, Britt, I run this show, okay? I know you're the biggest dog in Australian harness racing and you wrote the questions, but don't start talking about the track record till I ask. That's the second question on the list, all right? Amateurs. All right, so I think that King of Swing can win, but I just think he's a far superior horse in front. I think it's going to be awfully difficult. I think that Ultra Orlando will lead as well. There's no way in the world I don't think that Turn It Up will be able to cross Ultra Orlando if they're desperate to lead. And I reckon, Ricky, I try to just read his eyes. That's why he's only showing us his forehead at the moment, because when I said, are you serious about leading? I just saw signs of deception, but I can't be 100% sure. All right, Britt, it's your turn now. Will they break the track record? I'll go first. I don't think they will. I think they'll burn really hard early. And once they settle into formation, I just got a funny feeling there might not be a lot going on for even a quarter, and that might preclude them from breaking that track record.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I had a look back at when the track record's been broken in the past. It was broken last year, at least equaled by Cruise, and they went 27, 29, 27, 26. I think if they go sort of, 27 and then 27 again, if they really turn it on in that first half, that's when King of Swing can win, because I just think it's mathematically impossible for them to continue at that pace, and there has to be a steadier final quarter. I don't know. Every time we talk about the track record being beaten, it doesn't. And we probably saw it last week when they only went a 38 lead time in the Rising Sun. I don't know. It's it's hard to break a track record at this time of year, even though that's when they've been set in the past in winter. Now, I'm a Queenslander, so I thought it was really cold last week. Hopefully it's not quite as cold, and whether or not the weather has any bearing on it or not, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think so, because if they really open up early on in a 26 mid-26 first quarter, they have to come up for air somewhere. And for example, if Copy That's outside the leader, I think Anthony Butt will want to go as steady as possible through that middle section without inviting King of Swing into the race. But I don't think they're horses off the front line that just, maybe except for crunch time, that if they got to the lead would just jump and absolutely run and try to run their rivals into the ground. I think they have to come up for air at some point.
Britt thinks she's Colt 31, calling herself I'm a Queenslander. We remember all that. Rickie, just lower that phone ever so slightly so we can see those beautiful eyes of yours and tell us. Well, first of all, what time can crunch time run in front? If you decide to lead and hold the top, what time can you run in front?
That's a tricky one to probably answer. I mean, he's gone 51. I think he went 51.4, 51.3, and then 51.6 there. Well, he went 51 as a 3-year-old. Then he went 51 here about a month ago, and that was sort of in a lower grade races, sort of not under a lot of pressure. So I would say definitely go 50, just off that. But once, like Brittany stated, it all depends on how the races run. But if he could spear to the front and keep a good tempo, I think he could set a really good pace and, may the best horse win from there.
Michael Howard from Hunters Racing Victoria messaging me on Teams while I'm doing burning questions. You really do wonder where you're supposed to get good help. Will they break the track record in a word, Rickie?
I think they will. I think if they're going to break it this year, it'll be in this race, put it that way, for sure. And I think the track record is there to be broken on Saturday night.
Your thoughts, Skeeter?
I mean, it's such a hard question to answer, isn't it? Times before we have seen a really fast front line and thought they're going to absolutely run time here, and then they don't. They back it off because of how the race pans out. So, yes, they can, of course, but will they? That's a different question. Maybe, maybe not. I think it's absolutely going to depend where everyone settles and how the races run, that's for sure.
I've heard interesting, tricky and hard. That's because they're burning questions, people, are right. They're not easy questions. If they were easy, we'd all be able to answer them. Skeeter, Amazing Dreams, a really interesting case. Great winner, dominant winner in the end of the Rising Sun last weekend. Is she vulnerable over a short trip? I think there's another equation here. She doesn't seem to race as well against mares sometimes as against the boys. She loves following hot speed. She's not a dominant kind of mare like Forever Gold back in the day in Queensland that gets up on the tempo, or a Mate Mine Cullen. She's more of a sit sprinter. I think that's her vulnerability. What do you reckon?
No, I tended to think the short course isn't going to prove problems for her this weekend. Bon, she was so good, as you mentioned, and even how she worked out of the gate. Yes, she was aided by obviously Kowalski and Ellis's braking, and Mark Purdon was able to duck in for cover. But look, I just thought she was so good. She draws handy. We know she can get out of the gate well. So look, I think she's probably the best mare in the race, and it looks her race on Saturday night.
That's the third time in 964 conversations that Skeeter and I have disagreed. That's a wonderful milestone to reach. Fantastic. Britt, what do you think? I mean, you'll be a bit gun shy. You wrote off Amazing Dreams gate speed last week. You're going to be very reticent to say she won't dominate this race, the Golden Girl, on Saturday night.
Yeah, well, I'm in Spellbound's corner on Saturday night, so I'm not really learning my lesson very well, am I? But yeah, her mile record just doesn't stand up for me. She's had 8 starts. She's only won the once at the mile, and that was at Albion Park in a mare's qualifier. So it's hard to really take a great lead from that. And also, just more to your point about her record in mares features, probably because she's been the dominant filly and now the dominant mare of her year. She's often the one that's, I guess, the hunted, not necessarily the hunter, which is when she seems to do her best racing, like the Auckland Cup and the like. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. And my concern is actually Blair Orange on In the Gig last week said that he wasn't going to hand up to Amazing Dream because he didn't think that she was a great leader. So if she's not in front, is she parked out? And from parked, it's a hard road to home sort of thing. And if she doesn't want to be parked, who does she hand up with any great, confidence? So it's a really tricky one for mine. I know she's been heavily backed early on, but Spellbound's either in front, and I think she has more gate speed than we've seen from her to date. She lobbed the 1-1 last week without Mark Purdon sneezing on her. And if she's behind the leader, well, she ran a 52 last half at Menangle going back 2 weeks ago. So she just looks in the prime position for me. But Amazing Dream, she's a millionaire, so you can't write her off either. But just at the price, yeah, I'm just not sure.
I'm desperate to get up to Queensland next week. Let's talk nothing about sneezing, please. There's a few COVID cases in Victoria. We want none in Queensland. They won't let me up there. Rickie, there's no way anyone's giving her cover. If she goes forward and she's parked, no one's going to oblige you with cover, Amazing Dream. But is she just too good?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Brittany on this one. Like her record over a mile isn't great, but you can't underestimate a horse like her. And Mark and Nathan have done a terrific job with her, and she's in form. So, it is going to be hard for her. But I still think that she can overcome it.
All right, let's get to our final burning question. And this one might be an easy one. None of them are. Pink Galahs going for her 5th run in 5 weeks. She's had a couple of hard runs. I'll start with you, Rickie. Is it going to be a problem for her?
I don't think it will be. I spoke to Matthew Craven before he brought Pink Galahs up here. He just sort of rang to see what I thought of the race, and he said he had a reason to bring her up here, and that she needed the racing. And I think he's had the final, he's had this mapped out for a while. So I think she'll be right on song.
Just lower that camera just a little bit further. And can you just chuck your hand in front? Because I do want to show people your hands. Just one hand is enough.
My forehead's big.
Hey?
My forehead's just as big at the moment.
He's got, it's one of the wonders of the world, Rickie Alchin's hands. Britt, what are your thoughts? I mean, you posed this question, so I think you do have some concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I think any horse that's had the amount of racing that she's had in the last little while, plus the trip up from Victoria, is probably what concerns me the most with her. And I haven't seen her a lot in the flesh, but I have got an opportunity to look at her over the last few weeks. And not only is she small, she's not exactly a robust mare. She doesn't carry a great deal of condition, and she really went to the well last week. The first week she sort of got to sit off pace, and she just was too fast for them. But last week she hit the line, or she hit the front, and then once the line came up, she was sort of right at the end of her tether, I think. But just going back and looking at that real purple patch that she went through late last year when she won, I think she had a fortnight into the Bill Collins, and then she raced in the Bill Collins, then the Victoria Oaks, the Derby Heat and the Derby in consecutive weeks. And it has to be said that her Derby performance was nearly as good as any of them. So I guess you can't write her off from that perspective. And Maddie's actual aim for this trip was next week's Mobile Group 1. So with all that being said, maybe she's just been building through it nicely, but she's going to have to be a pretty tough nut if she can deal with all of that and still be at her absolute best on Saturday night.
It's pretty tough doing research, isn't it, Skeeter, when Brittany Graham just steals your thunder and says everything that you wanted to say about the race. But anyway, Vic Trotter's Derby final, it was her 5th run in 6 weeks. Matty Craven's got an amazing ability to get his horses up week in, week out. And I'd say along with Andy Gath, certainly in Victoria, he's the best at backing them up, sometimes after only 24 hours. So I'm not concerned.
Britt stole some of my points, and then you stole the rest, Bon, saying that Matty Craven's one of the best at backing horses up. So, look, I don't think it is going to worry her too much. I think if, Humble Lad's in the race who's been going super. So, look, I don't think the hectic racing schedule is what will get her beat this weekend. Matty I briefly spoke to him about the Gordon Rothericker actually earlier in the week, and he said he was happy with her and she was well. So look, I think that's probably not cause for concern, and if she is the best horse in the race and gets a decent trip, she can absolutely win on Saturday.
All right, best bet time. By the way, Britt, have you got the little setup with the laptop like we saw on socials where you've got a bunch of books behind or something going on there, or is it just sitting up on its own?
No, it's sitting up against a mirror on the top of a tissue box.
Of course it is. That was my third guess. Mirror on top of a tissue box. What did I think of that? We'll start with you, Skeeter. Who's mainly who's your tip in the Sunshine Sprint, but do you have a best for the card?
Look, I'm going with Copy That, I think, in the Sunshine Sprint. I just think 2 runs have been really good, and maybe if they don't get involved too early and can just work forward, and I just really don't know how it's going to map out. But I think if they don't have to do too much work early, is just a class animal and can get the job done. So yeah, I'll stick with Copy That, but not a whole heap of confidence.
Those messages that Mickey sending, are they going to come up on the recording or what, Scooter?
No, you're safe.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Rickie, who's your tip? Well, you sort of have to preclude yourself, but if Crunch Time doesn't win, who's your tip in the Sunshine Sprint and who's the best on the card?
Yeah, look, I'd say Copy That is probably going to be the biggest danger in the Sunshine Sprint. I'd love to see, obviously my horse win a race like this. But yeah, Copy That is in prime form, and I think he's the main danger in the race. The best tip on the card, look, I'm going to go with one of my horses each way. The horse race with no luck last week, What's Up Sunshine. He's drawn to get a conservative run, and with a touch of luck, the horse is still going really good. So he can be prominent there in the finish.
Whenever you've told me you've got a good horse, they've always turned out to be good horses, but you're going up against Andy Gath. Now, you gave him Majestuoso, or he got Majestuoso off you, and he's got a stunning record on the burning questions. Just lower that camera a little bit again. Now you've got to try and match him. Britt, who's your tip in the Sunshine Sprint? I'll go first. I think Copy That will win the race. And I think my best on the card, I'm actually going to go against Pink Galahs. I think Humble Lad's flying, and of course Albie Ashwood and Taylor French associated, so I'm going to go with Humble Lad. And when I get up to Queensland, Matty Craven, I apologise in advance. Best on the card and winner of the Sunshine Sprint, Britt.
My best on the card's Spellbound. I'm really, really confident of her chances. So taking on Amazing Dream again, and I'm with Turn It Up in the Sunshine Sprint. I think he's way over the odds, and he's my value play of the night. I thought his effort going back 2 weeks ago in the Bondi's made, he was absolutely bolting in behind them, and I've got him leading. So even though only one leader of the 10 races won last week, I'm hoping that we can buck that trend this week. But yeah, really looking forward to Saturday night. Didn't have the best night on the tip last week, so I need to improve significantly.
I had the best 2021 on the tip, unfortunately, or certainly the last month has been very difficult down here at Melton. Now, if the only way you're getting one of these or a jacket is me bringing it up, do you accept that?
As I said during the week, it's concerning, and Australia Post is very, very poor from at the best of times, but I still think it's a better option. But yeah, we'll give that the first go, and then if it doesn't make it safely to Queensland, I'll be in touch with Nikkita.
Well done to everyone involved. It's been great having the inaugural edition of Burning Questions for Queensland. This is an adult baby saying sayonara, and we'll be doing it all again next week.